in our Abuja studio the Chief Executive Officer of Airpeace, Allen Onyema, who graciously was very kind to return Nigerians from South Africa. It was a very emotional video that we played earlier with you tearing up there. Most noble gesture, I must say. Great service to your country and your countrymen. This is the first of the flights from South Africa to Nigeria. How many more have you scheduled for this process?
Well, thank you very much. We are ready to do as many flights as there are Nigerians there willing to come back home.
And just to join others who have commended you, to commend you for what you have done so far. But one will be wondering, there's a statement making the rounds, supposedly from you, where you said you have spent or you are putting in 280 million naira into doing this. And I just want to know, do you have expectations from the Nigerian government?
I was not forced into doing this. In fact, in the first place, nobody told me to do it. It was my own spontaneous decision because it is in my character to do things like this. It's not the first time I've done things like this for the country. You might remember the Niger Delta during the militancy days, what I did, how I went in there with our guns to arrest the incidents of militancy for and on behalf of my country. So a lot of people always think that I just came from nowhere because of Airpeace. Airpeace is just a small part of me. So I'm not expecting anything from anybody. If I'd wanted to expect anything, those people would have still been there. I saw the gory pictures of people dying. I saw the pictures of helplessness. I saw the pictures of hopelessness too. I saw pictures of pity for my own country people. So I decided to do what I had to do. So I contacted the federal government. I said, look, I am ready to go and evacuate Nigerians free of charge. Because when you start talking of money, then you start wasting time. So I needed to save lives. I needed lives of my compatriots to be saved on the immediate. So I told the government that, look, I want evacuation now. I want to get these people evacuated, and I'm going to do it free of charge. As many as there are Nigerians there who are willing to come back, Airpeace is willing to go and bring them back. At the last count, as at yesterday, about 700 people were registered, and we were to lift 320 of them out of Joburg. However, the South African government started playing tricks, and my aircraft arrived South Africa at about 4 a.m. in the morning, and was to depart South Africa at about 8 a.m. That aircraft never departed until about 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. About 12 hours or 10 hours of delay, burning fuel. When you take up a 777, an empty 777, when you put a Boeing 777 to do a 6 hours flight, empty, you're spending about 34 million already on fuel and overflight charges and so many other charges. So you can understand what we're in for. So we've projected it's costing us about 280 to 300 million. But it's not in the amount of money. What is the motivation? I've always been motivated by seeking God's face, and I'm doing it for God, not for anybody, not for any publicity or anything. I agreed to do some publicity because I want other people to do the same thing.
Indeed. Well, Nigerians must really applaud you. We understand that those who had planned to return to Nigeria, there were more people who were supposed to be on board that flight yesterday, but they were stopped. They were prevented from boarding the flight and arrested by the South African government. What other problems did you encounter yesterday?
In fact, the news from South Africa, from the High Commissioner and my staff down there in South Africa who went for the rescue mission, we call it rescue. I call it rescue because you have to understand that so many of the people that came back told us stories about people being kidnapped on their way to the airport or even on their way to the mission. They didn't want them to leave. They checked in 20 passengers and they stopped. They didn't want to check in anybody again, claiming that the system was bad, the system had gone down and all kind of things. You could do manual check-in. They just wanted to frustrate us. They didn't want them to go because of the implications of evacuation. We hit them below belt. And this sends out a signal that you don't toy with Nigeria. That's what I wanted to prove. Yeah. That we may have our differences in this country. We may have the things that tear us apart. But we send a signal out there that we're one nation and nobody can bend our resolve. Nobody can break our resolve when we're determined to do something as Nigerians.
Indeed.
So the other challenges was that they claimed there were no documents, but the High Commission of Nigeria gave them documents. So they had the travel documents. They now said, okay, we would like to know how they even entered our country. For goodness sake, if you get a foreign national, you don't want to be in your country, the next thing you do is deport. And when you're deporting, you're expending your national treasury, deporting the person. Here we were bringing our aircraft free of charge, helping both Nigerians and South Africa to solve their problems. You say our people are criminals. Fine, thank you. We are coming to move them out. So allow us to take them out. So even this night, we are waiting for the Nigerian High Commission. If they call us now, my pilots are ready to go down to Joburg and get rest out.
Indeed. Truly, it's outstanding what you're doing, and you're leading light, an example to be emulated. Earlier, you mentioned that you wanted to set an example for others to follow, and I wonder if there's any sort of assistance that will aid this mission or this evacuation that you are embarking on. Would you like to share? Would you like to call on any particular individual organization? What would be that help that would, better help your work?
You see, one thing I believe in is that when it comes to evacuating them with what I've got, I don't need anybody. The only thing I need is the assistance, not financial, of the High Commission, for processes, like making sure they have their documents and other things. I'm ready to support the government of the day to do what I'm doing, because don't forget that it's very difficult for any government to just go in there on their own to start doing evacuation because of the implications. So I'm a private person. I decided to do it. I do it because I cannot go to my grave with my wallet. Neither will I go to my grave with the number of houses I have. I can't go to my grave with the size of my bank account. But I can go to my grave peacefully and happily with the kind of legacies I leave behind. So I encourage everybody of means in this country. Let us start thinking of investing here. Let us start thinking of investing here in order to curb some of the things that drove these guys to go to South Africa in the first place. And the only thing I ask of government, I'm not asking government to give me money. I'm not asking anybody to assist us. The only assistance we need is processing them and keeping them for us to come and take. But I only ask civil servants to support indigenous investments wholeheartedly in this country so that processes will move, so that when things like this happen, the private sector, you can't leave everything for the government to do.
Indeed.
The private sector should be able to do corporate social responsibility. So, but a lot of people don't want to do it because they're being hounded by civil servants. They're not being supported by civil servants. Civil servants should stop seeing us as enemies, but as collaborators to push the country forward.
Mr. Onyema, north, south, east, west, there is no place like home. How would you advise the Nigerian government to reintroduce these returnees back into the society, very briefly?
Well, I heard yesterday that the government is making plans to contact the Bank of Industry to get some soft loans for them, and that's very laudable. Thank Mr. President for thinking in that line, because if these people are not reintegrated, they've lost everything they've worked for in South Africa. I saw some people sent their children. They couldn't come with their children, some underage children, because they wanted to see if they could get some of their things out of South Africa. Some lost everything they've worked for in the last 17 years. Many of them actually had wanted to come back to Nigeria in the last 7 years, but they didn't have the wherewithal to even get a flight ticket to bring them home. So, and I know this because I used to take the ex-militants to South Africa to transform in 2005 to 2009. So I know there were so many Nigerians stranded in South Africa who were willing to go home. They want to come back home, and they were happy. You could see they were singing national anthem. They are very, very grateful to Nigeria as a nation. So we shouldn't allow them to go back to where they were coming from. The government should follow the Bank of Industry and get them some succor.
Thank you very much. Chief Executive Officer of Airpeace Nigeria, Mr. Allen Onyema. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. And again, we commend you for what you're doing.
Thank you for being with us. Brilliant work.
Well, you'll be watching Arise Africa here on the Arise News channel. Please keep it here on the channel from the entire team here in Lagos, as well as our other teams in Abuja, London, and New York. Thanks for watching. I'm Adesua Omorwan.
And I am Fadishola Shutingwa. Bye now.